the Tenora game and talk a little about Eastwood. First, we want to talk about Nate Lighty and Crossbuck Construction Company. Glad that they're sponsoring our podcast, and big Liberty Center fans. Their boy's a freshman, good boy. And Nate's a hard worker, man. I know that he came out and did a bunch of quoting for me. We're excited, but you had him do some work. I mean, at least quote and do some work.
Yeah.
Thoughts about that?
Just did some sidewalks for me.
Nice.
Nate, Brant, and the boys came out and did a really good job. And, any more concrete needs, I know who to go to.
You even talked about not even getting quotes.
Just getting back.
Roll in, Nate.
When a guy comes in and does a good job like that, you just any more work, you just bring him back.
Here's the thing. Maybe our fans know, maybe our fans don't know, but when you're working for a Babcock, it better not be expensive and it better be good. All right, very good. Thank you, Nate, for your sponsorship of the pod, and we're excited to keep you in here every day of the week at Crossbuck Construction Company. Let's talk about the Tenora game, Jigs, and a lot to talk about, even though it looked relatively easy. I don't know that it was when you broke the film down, but 42-0, 25-0 at half. I think we scored on our first 4 possessions. 387 to 143 total yards. Time of possession, 36 minutes to 12. There wasn't a statistic out there that did not lean our way, but what were your first impressions of this game as we dive a little deeper?
Yeah, I thought offensively the pass game was pretty impressive. A lot of time to throw the ball. If you play the film back, Caden had a lot of time to go through progressions.
Yep.
and find the open receivers. I like the way he spread the ball around, 5 different receivers.
Was it 5 or 6? Ethan Gray, J.T. Olcrew, Thomas Moeller.
Did Thomas have a catch? That'd be the one I missed.
Jackson Lonazak, Garrison Cruz. I think Thomas had a catch.
Okay, so there's 6 different receivers.
Pretty good.
And very efficient. Had the 200 plus in the first half there. That was really nice to see. The run game was a little bit of a challenge. I think kind of playing that back as well. You saw what Tenora was doing up front. They'd have 7, 8 guys, and they were blitzing, they were guessing with their linebackers, just very active up front. And we saw a lot of those traps that were having a hard time getting going. We talk about that being a slower developing play where you're waiting on a guard to come through a hole to lead that up. And a lot of times the linebacker was meeting that guard there. Not the guard's fault, just based on some of the blitzing that they were doing. And then you saw the dives working better because of they were picking a hole, blitzing that. Guess wrong, and then that linebacker was not there to fill that. So some things to clean up, certainly in the run game. I did enjoy the pass game, at least offensively.
Well, the numbers were, I don't know, would you say astounding? I think you talked about it being, I don't know that we know that it was a record, but he was 10 for 11 in the first half for 227, something like that unofficially. Ends up with 4 TDs.
4 touchdowns, yeah.
I mean, and some of the TDs were electric. I think everybody talked about and knew about Jackson Lonazak. At least, one of the things we're trying to do with this podcast, and Mark Bly, who is our boss and the engineer and director of this, we talked about going deeper with our fan base. Like, I'm a tunnel vision guy about Liberty Center football. Love Eastwood, love Anthony Wayne, love Tenora. It's all great. Football in North, but I love how deep can we get with us? So people that are in it deep knew about Jackson Lonazak.
Mm-hmm.
People that didn't know about Jackson Lonazak, when you turn that film on, I think he, as you would say, he flashed not just catching it, but his explosive, he geared up in traffic and then geared up on a sack later where he went 30-plus yards and just ran a quarterback down who's pretty athletic like a dog. Talk about your impressions of Jackson Lonazak. He had 129 yards. No, I'm sorry, that was in receiving with a couple of touchdowns on 4 receptions. That's massive fantasy production, but the way he did it, talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some teams coming into the season that didn't have him on the offensive radar on a guy to key. But you watch that film, and all of a sudden, Coach Jim be like, "Oh boy, we better keep an eye on that guy." Because they're moving him around now. They put him in the slot. They give him on the jet sweep.
I love that.
He's explosive. He ran through some tackles on that play, and then from the tight end position. I mean, we used to have a pop pass, and you saw that the one he scored on. If you get a linebacker that's too far inside or too far outside of that tight end, he runs right down the middle like this, catches it, and he's just going to run away from everybody. That's what you saw him do on that play. And then the first touchdown, same thing. Caught it in traffic and just ran away from everyone. So it was good to see. I mean, we saw the athleticism with him some last year, and there were times on kickoff that he would flash, and still a young player, still a sophomore. Maybe didn't make every single play that you thought he should based on his physical attributes, but you're starting to see him rise a level. Confidence obviously is there. He's more mature, stronger player, and he really flashed.
He's a complete player in my view. I mean, he's got great size. He's got an elite physique. I mean, the kid is absolutely put together. I think we slept a little bit on that speed. I mean, these 40s at the beginning of the season, they're 4.8s, they're 4.9s, they're 5.1s, maybe 4.7 highs.
Mm-hmm.
But you get in a game. I remember Deion Sanders' Hall of Fame speech talking about game speed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm running sub-4 in a game. Like, I don't know that we know that, but like, that's what he talked about. I think that's what Jackson looked like to me. Like, he geared up in traffic, and he's big enough where you ain't going to just touch his thigh pad, or he's not a guy that you can bring down. I think that's why Casey wants to put him a little bit in the run game, because if he gets free in space with his size, I think he's a very dynamic weapon in multiple ways for us.
Yeah, it's offensively, yeah, and then you talk defensively. I mean, he's playing the run very well. You bring him off the edge, and you saw what happened on that sack. I mean,
that showed up on film. Like, I had to watch it 2 or 3 times, and you're like, don't overstate it. I'm really not trying to overstate it because we had the game in control, but just that.
Yes.
I keep saying gear. Like, some guys have one gear. Some guys have a couple gears. Some guys got the third gear, and I think I saw that gear in Jackson Lonizak.
Yeah, well, it just gives you another edge piece off the end. We talked about the defensive line being very solid.
And Garrison Cruz
and
also has that same gear-up deal.
And Baxter can come around outside. So love the linebacker piece where they move those guys around, blitz them from the outside, and use them in different ways. There are some explosive players there.
Talking to Eric Weimer just a little bit, he doesn't talk a whole lot, but he was relatively disappointed in some of the technical production and some of the reads and all those things. But that linebacker room, very, very productive this last week and showed that they have the ability. They just got to get it right. Thomas Moeller goes for 88 yards on 10 carries. Garrison Cruz, 65 yards on 8 carries with a touchdown. That combination in the backfield along with Tyler Roars, that's a good group. Baxter Barrett got in that game and had a touchdown run of 12 yards. That's a good running back room. It may not be elite, missing Waylon Rentz, but I thought Thomas showed well. I mean, he's a great reader of the whole, good cutter, super smart. He's bigger. He's $195. He kind of runs like a fullback a little bit. Sometimes you wonder, is Garrison still the half and is Thomas the fullback? I mean, I think they're pretty interchangeable.
Yep.
Talk about Cruz and Moeller and how they complemented each other.
Yeah, Gary, I think he still needs some time for that fullback position. It's different from seeing that half where you're more outside, you're not as much inside. I think that will come with more carries. Thomas just picked up right where he left off last year. I mean, he's a great cutter. He's got great vision. I would say he's a great vision runner and was very effective inside. And yeah, I mean, Baxter looked good, and Tyler Roars, I think he got a couple those inside reverses. They were all over. That was a slow developing play, so they were all over those. It was hard to really see, but I expect Tyler to get some more carries here as we get into the season, and he's shown good speed and tackle breaking ability as well. So I like our backfield so far.
I do, and senior guys know what they're doing, and Thomas is high IQ, and certainly Tyler's high IQ as well, and love having him back there. Let's talk a little bit about what Tenora wasn't able to get done. I think very early in a couple series, you saw their quarterback. We talked a lot about him. He was a threat. He made some throws, completions, first downs, and then, Matt Bryan, Casey Moeller, Chris Riggy went to work and almost erased them in the passing game. I mean, they really showed up in that Q1, and then it just went away. He threw 2 picks, had a fumble. He was 10 for 25 passing, and there was a point where he was like 8 for 11. So that whole thing just blew up on them. And Tenora, 30 yards rushing on only 143 yards total. Just Liberty Center's defense. Again, we like to talk about the offensive weapons. We like to spend an hour on Jackson Lonizak. We get that. But again, unit-wise, the defense really showed up, and Tenora struggled to get anything really established.
Yeah, I was impressed with our 3-man rush from the inside. I mean, Weimer, Cifuentes, Spangler, all very effective. And then Schweiger had some good reps. Navarre had good reps. Bockelman certainly flashed.
Couple sacks late. He really kind of came on.
And I
fresh.
think,
fresh. You know,
Look good.
The
Looks
depth.
explosive from the edge.
Yes, yes.
And I think we hit that quarterback a few times, and I'm telling you, those take like the Lonizak hit where your helmet is going into the ground and you don't got your arms to block anything, and you're just eating the dirt. That does not feel good. And you saw him kind of get up slow. So those hits take their toll. And I think you saw that. And I think he started struggling a little bit later in that game with his completion. Had the 2 picks, right? Thomas had a pick. Ethan Gray had a pick.
And the Thomas pick was just like, got to get rid of it.
Yes.
Uncomfortable.
Yes.
Pocket being pushed. I think that was a bit of a panic throw. There was no one there but Tom. And Thomas made a great over-the-shoulder catch on that.
He did. But we got our hands on 3 other balls. JT Okru, I think, would
Yes.
like to have one back. Dropped in his zone. That was a good read. Just got to catch it. Orth on a kind of a little swing pass was right there. And then Mason Smith, he got his hand on the ball. So I like the activity from the secondary, to be able to pick a couple balls off and get your hands on it. That's what you want to see.
You know, I think we talked about the secondary being a question mark. I think it's fair, and I think some fans want positive all the time, and I understand that. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to give our fan a conversation about some realities of our football team.
Mm-hmm.
And when you replace 4 high-level senior players that have seen tons of snaps, but there might be, we might get a kid back this week that I think you've talked a lot about, and I'm kind of excited to see where Caden Sonnenberg lands because he was an experienced guy. We didn't talk much about him last week at all because I wasn't exactly sure.
Right.
You can't be pumping up some non-entity. He had some working through Lyme's disease and some of the issues there, but I'm hearing from camp that he might be ready to go, and that really shores up. Now what I see a defensive backfield got some depth to it. Now we'll go to Eastwood after our break, but I think they showed up pretty well after about the 3rd drive. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no deep balls. I mean, the one Ethan gave up, he was right there, stride for stride.
Yes, he was.
Tyler Roars got tested deep. He was right there, stride for stride.
He was.
So you don't want to see deep balls over your head. That's when you know that guys aren't doing their job or they're not making the right play. We didn't see any of that. And we got their hands on the ball quite a bit. And the rotation was nice. You saw Orth, you saw Okru, you saw Mason Smith. Baden Hop kid, I think, came in some. You saw
Isaiah, legitimate.
So we got
player.
a nice rotation piece. And, yeah, you get Caden Sonnenberg potentially back, who's last year he was probably that 5th guy. We talk about the 4, but he was the 5th guy with the most experience, sniper role, special teams, some corner. So to be able to have him, and I think that's a guy that can play both positions. So you can move him to that sniper role. He can play a corner, and now all of a sudden you just got deeper.
Well, he's a veteran. He's seen a ton of snaps in big games. Good tackler.
Yep.
I mean, he brings a lot to the table. And, will he be at his peak in week 2? I don't know, but just having him back in the mix, if that's the case, would be
great story too.
bonus.
I mean, that's a senior that you don't want your senior year
Ever.
robbed. That's just a terrible thing. So it's good to have him back.
Yeah, 18 seniors or 19. I never get that number right talking to Todd Spangler. We lost count after about 16. Having that many seniors, a big benefit. As we wrap up Tenora, there's some standout players here, and we've talked a little bit about them, but I thought Jackson Lonizak was phenomenal on both sides of the ball. I thought Caden Crimebrink, again, another position that we had question marks about. Can he make these throws? Can he be accurate? He did throw a pick. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the ball looked good coming out of his hands.
Yep.
He was really comfortable. He's just confident in there. He stood on there confident. That's the offensive line. Talking about Nick Miller giving up, 4 sacks in 4 years or 8 and 8 or whatever. Our guys do protect exceptionally well. Kellen Weimer is as good of a left tackle as you're going to get. And that right tackle position between Soil Barkerman and Gabe Clapp, those are good football players.
Yep.
I think we gave the Man of Steel to Gabe Clapp. I think that was
yes.
that was Spike's choice. But Gabe does stabilize the offensive line. But I think that there's a battle there with Sawyer Bachman. I think Bachman's going to be a nice-looking player. He really flashed late in that game, a couple sacks. So I talked about Henry Fitzenreiter a little bit, so some guys this week. And between Sawyer and Henry Fitzenreiter, that guard position, there's another guard. So you got Max Walker, who's just a staple and an all-league kind of player. But you got a bunch of dudes at guard still trying to – and they're all working and winning and losing and figuring it out. But Deegan Swigert, Lucas Navarre, Logan Cifuentes, and I think this Henry Fitzenreiter.
Yeah.
starting to come on a little bit. Athletic and physical, knows his job. He's giving these guys a run for their money in that guard room.
Well, you can never have enough guards, right? I mean, there's going to be times where you're going to want to spell Max if he's playing too much defense or vice versa. So you got to have depth. Cifuentes has been in there for 2 years now. And, yeah, I mean, watching the reps of Fitzenreiter, I liked it. I mean, he's smaller stature, but he is quick.
Leverage.
He is very quick.
And powerful.
And he is.
Moving
And when
guys.
he hits guys, you can see the movement. So that's nice depth piece to see.
I also liked what I saw. I mean, you're going to get the Weimer family might say, well, how about Kellen? Like, well, you could talk about Kellen every week.
You don't recognize him because he just puts his guy in jail, and then it's like,
like where'd
what
that
do I
guy
do now?
go? Well, number 60, the sheriff, just came in and finished it. But he played well. So did
he.
I thought
he did.
I think
defensively too. I mean,
we'll talk about that in a second. He was really, I think, quietly a guy that made a huge difference on defense. And I thought Cifuentes had some really good reps.
Yes,
as that zero technique player. As nose, but Hunter Spangler again. I mean, there's a guy.
No, he was.
I'm
safety,
just telling you, man.
That safety was just. He had a bad night. I mean, you're a 160-pound safety, and you got Spangler just hunting for you. You're looking for a place to hide. You're just let me get behind this linebacker so he can't
hide.
See me.
Can you hide from
I'm
Hunter
serious.
Spangler?
He had him on
that dude.
He had that get on the ground at least 3 times, and I just felt bad.
You know, I don't know that people have ever watched.
I know Hunter didn't feel bad.
The horror series Halloween, but Michael Myers he never like ran fast, but he was just after you the whole movie. You can't get away from Hunter Spangler. He's so good technically at offensive line. Again, I think Nick Miller, and I think these got Brad Howe and Todd Spangler. I think they were a little disappointed, but I think play after play after play. Pretty good. And lastly, the kicking game. I think Max Perry was very interesting.
Yeah.
He cleaned up some bad snaps. It wasn't a good-looking special teams deal in a lot of instances. We had some snap issues, but I think Max really came through a couple times. He kicked the ball exceptionally well.
Yep.
And Caden Kreinbrink showed us a few things, hit a field goal, I think, right? Is that
he
right?
Did.
He hit it real solidly.
Yes.
So I think the kicking game has the elements, but the operation needs to get cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. It's the special teams that you're not – maybe seeing as much in the preseason. I mean, I guess they were doing it a little bit in the scrimmages, but not as much. So, and you got a new guy kicking. I mean, Max was
snapping.
Guys and a new guy snapping.
New guys.
I mean, Will Fitzenreiter was a great snapper last year, and he did not miss much. And that is a big deal, man. When you got to get that ball right here. There's another one that I think Kreinbrink caught behind him.
Right.
Was able to get down for a nice, Max Perry extra point. So. Those are things I expect to get worked out with time.
Ian Rosebrook was so good. You just got so fixated on how well he kicked, but the whole entire operation, as you talked about, Will, and the snap and the hold, we got to clean that up because we're going to be in some games. I don't know if this team's going to roll out 42-0, but Liberty Center, convincing victory over Tenora, good start, another win. Next year, I think, is the last game we play against Tenora. We're going to go off the schedule. I know that the Sattler boy from Tenora was a junior. I think it was Mark Sattler, a grade at Liberty Center. I walked in with them a little bit. They're like, we got to do something special next year, and I love the Sattlers. I got a chance to coach them. Just a bunch of bad dudes. That kid, the Sattler boy for Tenora.
Yeah, nice night.
A nice night. So we'll go to our break here before we preview Eastwood, but Liberty Center, great opener.
Breakdown Taxi! It's the Tiger Sports Live Breakdown Podcast brought to you by Crossbuck Construction Company. Now, here's your hosts, Scott Barrett and Brian Babcock. Crossbuck Construction Company, providing exceptional quality for our clients for over 20 years. Call 419-966-9341 for details. Demolition. We handle the tough stuff so you don't have to. Our demolition service is all about safety and efficiency. Whether it's old concrete, asphalt, or structures, we've got the tools and the skills to clear the way for your new projects. Hauling services. You have debris? We'll take it away. Our hauling service with our dump trucks are ready to remove and transport materials from your site, making your construction or cleanup projects hassle-free. Residential concrete. Your home deserves the best. We provide top-notch concrete services for driveways, sidewalks, patios, and more. Expect a perfect finish every time, adding value and curb appeal to your home. Commercial concrete, strong foundations for your business. Our commercial concrete services are tailored for durability and precision. From large foundations to flat work, we ensure your commercial space stands on solid ground. Excavating and site prep, digging done right. Our excavating services are all about precision and care, whether it's for foundations, landscaping, or drainage installations. We ensure your ground is prepared perfectly for what's next. Drainage solutions. Keep water away the right way. Our drainage solutions are designed to protect your property from water damage. We assess, plan, and implement effective drainage systems, ensuring long dryness. Here's some of our Crossbuck construction statistics. 55 years of experience, 1,216 yards of concrete poured, and over 3,000 tons of material moved. Call Crossbuck Construction at 419-966-9341 for details, or go to crossbuck.co to get a free quote.
And we're back after halftime. And again, thanks to Nate Leidy and the Crossbuck Construction Company. Mark Bly with some statistics on yards of concrete laid by Nate Leidy. Impressive operation, and we're just we're honored that he decided to sponsor our podcast. And Jigs, as we get into the second half of the cast here, Eastwood, I guess I fell down on my job and research a little bit. I started digging into Eastwood, and I was so focused on watching their Kenton game that I didn't do a lot of historicals. I know that they've had some great coaches, and Coach Rutherford there, and had a great run. They've always been a very physical football team. They like to run the ball, but Sam Cotterman came from Perrysburg. He brought over Drew Sims, a great Perrysburg quarterback, and he's been 20-5 and runner-up to Oak Harbor in this NBC the last 2 years. They were 11-2 last year. 6-1 in the NBC, which is really impressive. They beat Norwayne, which was a big deal in a shootout. This team can really score. I know you did some research even going back further. This is a winning program. Mm-hmm. This is a big-time winning culture. They've been winning around there for a long time. This Eastwood team is really good. This is going to be everything you saw against Sandusky Perkins, maybe minus a few guys up front. This Eastwood team, to me, and they just took apart Kenton in the second half. And that's a Kenton team that was 2-8 last year, fighting to figure something out. But when you turn the film on, Eastwood does a lot of phenomenal things on offense. And you talk about, we had 6 targets. They got the same amount of targets that they could throw the football to. And talk about your first impressions. I loved what I saw on offense from Eastwood. I just thought that they did a lot. I kept rewinding it like a former defensive coach would, like who's our biggest threat and what's that offensive line look like and the quarterback. And collectively, this offense is impressive.
Yeah, they're going to give you a lot of different formations. And like you said, they have a lot of receivers that they spread the ball around to. You know, their run game, it's not a power run game like ours. It's more of a zone blocking scheme. You know, they'll pull some guards and kind of lead up. But a little bit different looking run game. You know, the running backs, nice little player, Braden Brown, kind of a smaller, shiftier guy, but can break some tackles. And then they got weapons on the outside. And this is after the Ludhart kid broke his arm, I believe, in one of their first scrimmages. He was an all-state quarterback from last year. But then his brother, who's a sophomore, he was a receiver. Now he moves into the quarterback role, and a very athletic kid. I don't know if anybody watched the basketball game that we played against them in Napoleon, but a shooter, could get to the hole, and just a very athletic kid. So he'll take over at quarterback, and he can really sling it. I mean, gets the ball out quick, athletic, has the ability to run the football, can roll out. And then the player I like the best, another player we saw in the basketball was a Shoemaker kid. I mean, they just move him around like a chess piece. He's kind of at the wing sometimes. He'll take a direct snap, wildcat, kickoff returner, punt returner. He took a kickoff back against
82 yards against Kenton.
And then as a receiver. So he's probably their best offensive weapon, and they get him the ball in a lot of different ways.
Well, I think we thought maybe with the stud quarterback, the brother, going out because of injury, we thought maybe we'd get a reprieve. But I was very impressed with this Braden Leitke kid. He was 13 of 20 with 183 yards and 2 touchdowns. No mistakes. The kid's very bright. He's a competitor. These guys know what they're doing. They have a good offensive coordinator, former great quarterback. So you saw a lot of checkdowns, a lot of good decisions. The offensive line lost 4 starters from last year. They lost 16 seniors from last year. That's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot of dudes on both sides of the ball. They lost 8 starters on offense and 8 starters on defense. We'll get to the defense in a minute. I think that's where they're most vulnerable. But offensively, Cam Shoemaker creates all kinds of issues. You saw Kenton just following him around and trying to account for him, and that opened up things for Zach Mulholland and Edmund Opfer. This Mulholland kid's a big possession receiver, really good set of hands. He wins a lot of balls because of his size. Like, you can throw a 6'4", 190 kid. He's also a senior, so he's seen a lot of big games. I like the Edmund Opfer kid. He caught a touchdown pass. Landon Weems is a guy that really works well in the slot. They all catch the ball well. They're all well coached. Those routes are crisp and tight. They are open a lot. Of course, we're playing a little bit of a zone, the way we like to cover. So we're going to have to take the Tenora game, and we're going to have to be a little bit better to be able to defend this passing game. And I'll tell you, you mentioned Braden Brown. You kind of lose track of that running back and all these throws and all these athletes. But second half, when that game was tight, I think it was 19-8 at half or something like that, all of a sudden he breaks loose. And I think it's game calling, and Sam Cotterman kind of flipped the switch and saw a vulnerability in Kenton, and they got a lot out of their run game in the second half.
Yeah, they did. And I think they're pretty big up front. I haven't seen numbers as far as size and weights, but they looked big.
They did. Now, they're 6 foot 230 on average, meaning,
Okay.
I mean, there's some big dudes on this offensive line that's pretty impressive. The Hunter Lauer kid, 6'4", 260, and you talk to Nick and the guys, he's as good of an offensive lineman they've seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And they bring back a guy named Jack Sensing, who's a two-way starter, who's an exceptional defensive lineman in their 4-3 and also a very good offensive guard. So they have size, and they might not be jumping out, driving you on a 7-man sled like we like to do. But they do a really nice job in their zone blocking scheme, and they get in your way, and they can move you if you stay on them.
Well, and they just spread you out so much. When you're 4 or 5 wide, you have about 5 players to defend, maybe 6 to actually defend the run. So they really use that spread to their advantage in the run game, and they can be very effective at it.
They put up a lot of points too, Brian. They like to score the ball. They play a very exciting brand of football. They're not going to line it up, tight end to tight end and a wing and go at it like we kind of want to do to you. And so, defensively, Casey and Matt Bryan, they've got a lot of work to do this week. They got to defend the entire field. I think that even though they did lose their quarterback, I think with that injury, which I think was a big deal, I do think this young sophomore has done some nice things. I've seen him in the scrimmage film. I think it was Clyde, or Norwalk, one of the two.
Clyde.
And then
Archbold.
Yeah, Archbold as well. They really handled Archbold. And if you dive into that a little bit, and we don't preview the Archbold game, it's way too early, but they did take Archbold apart and was able to dictate a lot. So I don't think this team is just a team that's going to beat you in the passing game. If you're not minding your P's and Q's and your run fits and winning those snaps, because that offensive line will get on you. If you can't win those, they're going to run the football too. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little concerned about us losing sight with those 4 and 5 wides, and the emphasis gets out in the perimeter, and they beat you in the box. Kenton started to do that. There were some coverage rolls and some zone defense being played and 2 deeps and different things. Not a lot of run support, and you had Braden Brown running all over them in the second half. Third quarter in particular, 3 touchdowns, had a big third quarter. So I just think we don't want to lose sight. When they come out and you see all the people, you're going to be like, ooh, they might run the football pretty effectively all season long. I think this Brown kid's a good football player.
Yeah, he is for sure. And I think that the pass game is – they give you a lot of different formations, a lot of things to look at. And as a corner sniper, that's tough to deal with a lot of times because –
especially inexperienced guys.
Yeah, exactly. And you got 4 or 5 different route combinations out of every single formation, and that can kind of wear on you as a defender and start to think too much on what am I actually looking at here. And like I said, they'll get the Shoemaker kid in motion, doing a lot of different things with him, and he's a tough runner that can break tackles. And I really like him.
The Zach Mulholland kid, again, to go back to that size, they isolate him a lot. They'll motion away from him, and he's out there waiting to win something. And you can't tell me that Sam Cotterman, who's a really, really talented offensive guy with Drew Sims, their OC, who was a great quarterback at Perrysburg, they've looked at this roster. They know what we lost, and we've got a lot of kids back and a lot of great seniors. And we've talked about our defensive back room, and they showed up against Sonora. They really did. But this Eastwood team is deeper, better, more physical, and they've got a couple weapons that are next level. This Eastwood team is a threat to win their conference.
Yep.
They can beat Oak Harbor now because Oak Harbor lost a lot. I think they're right there for that NBC championship, and you might see them again. They're in our region. This is a team that can go pretty deep in the playoffs.
Well, you saw last year they took Oak Harbor to the down to the
had
wire.
2 shots within, I think, inside the 15-yard line and couldn't get it done.
Same Oak Harbor team that took us to the wire, gave us all we wanted. So this
Stephen
team
Brogan
is used to this team is used to some wars, and they play a good schedule. And they're certainly not going to be intimidated coming.
Well, I want our fan base to understand, because I'm a fan too. Like I knew Eastwood was historically good.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that Sam Cotterman's 20-5 heading into year 3 and 11-2 last year, and you've got 6 years of 1, 2, 3 losses.
Exactly.
These guys win a lot of games, so I think culturally they're not afraid of us.
No,
they're not coming. They're not. They saw that Oak Harbor game. They're like, we were right there with Oak Harbor. They were right there against Liberty Center. Why can't we be this year?
Mm-hmm.
And they lost a bunch of good players, and so did we. We're kind of in the same playing field. So I think this game, from our defense and their offense, Brian, is going to be, it's going to test Matt Bryan and Casey Moeller. I think these guys are going to be very tested in their schematics and adjustments, because I think we adjusted to a lot of good things.
We did.
After the first 3 drives, I saw big adjustments. No room. You call it route. What do you call it? Route awareness?
Recognition.
Route recognition. I'm going to steal that from you. Our guys got pretty comfortable with Tenora, but the pressure that we were able to apply changed a little bit about what Tenora wanted to do. It's going to be all we can do to pressure this quarterback with this offensive line.
Yeah, I agree. That's going to be the key, because if you let Braden Luhart, he's a tall quarterback. He's 6'3", 6'4" kid, so he can see over the line fine. If you give him time, he will find an open receiver. So pressure is going to be key. Interesting to see how they'll kind of get pressure, if it'll just be with 3-man type of rush, keep your linebackers more in the zone coverage, or if we'll look to bring them off the edge and look to pressure from the edge like Lana Zach and Gary and Baxter can do. But I do like from Eastwood, they can really score. I mean, they averaged 41 points a game last year, so
and only gave up 18.
They're accustomed to scoring. They're used to scoring.
Pinball.
They'll go quick and they'll get you off schedule. They get a few things working. They'll go quick, keep you off balance, where you're looking at the sidelines trying to get a defensive play call.
Can't get subs in.
They're snapping it, and they're off the races. They screen really well too, outside screen, running back screen, where they'll take a couple of steps back, let D-line rush, dump it to that running back, and I really like their balance. They really have play calling is very balanced on offense, and they're going to be tough to handle.
Well, like I said, I mean, they flipped the script. They were throwing a bunch early in that game against Kenton, and boom, Kenton made some adjustments at halftime. They came out and ran it very effectively. I do think if we're gonna blitz them up, I think they have answers. Mm-hmm. The screen game is an answer. The swing game is an answer. So the draw game, they run all those plays.
Yep.
I mean, this is a deep playbook, and I think, again, I said Drew Sims was a really good quarterback at Perrysburg. Sam brought him over from Perrysburg, Cotterman from Perrysburg, so coached at Perrysburg. So very interesting coaching matchup for our group, where I think we have a distinct advantage. Of course, again, let's go back and remind everybody that they've lost 16 players. That's a lot. It's a lot of dudes and a lot of snaps and a lot of good talent, by the way. If you go down that roster and you check off who they're missing, Brian, these weren't kickers and long snappers, and all those are important. These were offensive linemen, defensive linemen, corners, wide receivers, highly productive players that graduated. So, but they're defensively, they run a base 4-3. They look to me a little disinterested on defense at times. I'm not saying they don't, but oftentimes culturally they want to throw, they want to score, they want to be creative on offense. Defensively, they give up some big yardages last year. Milan Edison in the playoffs, almost 500 yards on the ground. And you remember what we did to Milan.
Yeah.
That was a crime scene, what we did to Milan Edison. I mean, we just tore them from limb to limb. Milan went for 500 on the ground.
Right.
And there's a lot of games like that. When you dig into their game by game, they got gashed in the run game, and I see that as a potential opportunity for us.
Yeah, I expect the offensive line, running backs, to be somewhat motivated, because I think they're probably not satisfied with how last week went. I know the coaching staff probably has been working on some of that film.
And I wonder how Garrison Cruz's household was with Trenton and Colton and Landon and Papa Bear, and Maybe it wasn't a
How
comfortable
was
week
it?
for Garrison. I mean,
What'd you have?
Garrison.
Oh, you didn't have 100 yards?
Wait, Garrison was good, but then you go into the house and you sit around for like a dinner, and it's like, what are you doing, boy? Like, I'm sure Trenton wanted to take him to the woodshed. I'm joking, but that's a football family, and they have lots of expectations. Then to go right to Papa Bear, and he's got him there a little bit higher. So Garrison might have a little fire lit this week.
Yeah.
Not that he played poorly, because he didn't.
No.
He was very good. But I think this week, I'd like to see him break out and hit some home runs.
Yeah, I expect that there'd be a big focus on the ground, work more run game to the pass game.
Yes.
More so this week.
Yeah.
I think last week we were expecting Tenor to do some things up front, and we passed, then came back to the run game. So I expect that to be kind of reversed this week.
Well, I'm that's not sure what we're going to see this week. I think week after week after week, you're going to see some sort of non-base attacking,
you have to
creative defense against our run, and I'm just anxious to see what Eastwood has cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're going to be a whole week better. And I can tell you, Nick Miller wasn't all that excited about the way the offensive line played, and I'm sure Todd Spangler and Brad Howe and all the group, that was probably a major point of emphasis, not just Garrison Cruz. I think that entire offense. I want to see how they respond when they get hit in the mouth by Thomas Moeller. He has become a very physical football player, and he always was physical. But I think he's added some pounds. I think he enjoys the inside running.
Yeah,
he delivered some stuff last week. You're gonna have to eat that a little bit. Thomas is gonna make you eat some.
He's hard-headed.
He is.
I mean, he puts his head down sometimes. There were some collisions last week. There were two. There was one where he was playing safety, and then he ran over the number 3, and I'm like, gosh, that guy's got a hard head. It looked like a concussion. If that was me back in the day, I was concussed.
We didn't diagnose concussions back then.
Yeah, that's true. But no, Thomas is, man, he's running hard, and he had a great game last week.
Yeah, I just think the physical running game, and I think he brings that, and I really like that. We've always been a physical running back kind of game, kind of team. He brought that last week, and I think Eastwood's going to have to get ready for it, because we're not going to sit here and play the same kind of game. I think it's going to be a much better week. Liberty Center this week, Eastwood, a big game against a really good football team.
Yep.
And this would put Eastwood on a course for some really good things. And I think we've shown enough vulnerabilities, Brian, that there's probably a little confidence coming in here. And there has been talk outside the locker room, maybe inside the locker room, maybe just generally speaking. Do you read the headlines after a couple state championship games, 30-2? You start feeling pretty. I mean, you were in some good football teams. I certainly was. In 1987, we felt we were going to do it. We were undefeated, and Wauseon came in here and beat us. A very average Wauseon team came in and beat us 14-7.
Can happen anytime.
And we walked to Rex's house, and we said, hey, we think practices are pretty hard. Hey, we let you back off a little bit, old man, and give us a break. He's like, we're going to go harder. You just choked because you thought you were pretty good. And you see what happens. We came back and we beat Bryan, a really good Bryan team, and I think this happens a lot. Am I wrong? Like, kids get – and I'm not saying we're arrogant and egotistical. I just think you just get used to winning, man.
Yeah,
we're just winning. All we do is win. Well, there's some dudes coming in that want to knock you off now. You're the hunted. You know, for many years we were the hunter. Eastwood's going to come hunting, I think, a little bit.
Yep. No, I expect them to be ready to go, and they're going to test us offensively.
Well, they're certainly coming off a great game against Kenton, but – podcast number 2 in the books, and my expectation is we beat them, and we put up 40 points. I think this is a 40-21 game, and I think it's kind of tight for Liberty Center for a while, but we end up wearing them down and scoring. I mean, last week I was more right than you.
You were.
You put up a bunch of – you were saying they were scoring 14.
What was I thinking there?
They didn't score – let me just check. Did we score any points last week? No, it was 42-0.
Well, they almost did.
God,
I mean,
I know you were rooting for it, but
No,
I wasn't.
of course not.
I wasn't rooting for it. What's your sense of the final?
I got a similar. I think a 42-14 look is kind of, and I could see them getting 21 too, because they got some guys that can get loose. So I'm going to go 42-14.
I expect Liberty Center to be 2-0. We'll see. Championship teams need these tests, and they got one. A big thank you to Crossbuck Construction. Thank you, Nate, for sponsoring it. Nate Lighty for sponsoring our podcast. We'll be back for week 3 as we prepare for Otsego. Hopefully it's good news, man.
Yep.
All right, take care.